Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. I hope you guys are having a great day today. I know I sure am. Today we're going to review a very interesting guitar. It's a $220 Charvel copy by the Zuwei brand, which boasts a roasted maple neck. So let's check it out. Alright, so let's talk about this instrument for a moment. So this is a Zuwei copy of the Charvel DK24. Now it's not a flat out copy, there are some minor differences. For example, the headstock doesn't say Charvel, and it's not the same headstock shape either. This is sort of a reverse headstock that's kind of like shaved off here. So they're not exactly trying to 100% hard mimic the guitar, but it is very, very similar. So it's obvious to see where they get the inspiration from. Another difference is the color of the guitar. The guitar is a sort of a more pale pink, the original Charvel. This is more of kind of like a bubblegum pink. Still think it looks nice, but yeah. That aside, obviously the other difference would be the hardware, you know, and the aftermarket parts that are used on the Charvel as to in comparison to these. So what is this guitar? It's a $220 guitar plus taxes and fees that includes a roasted maple neck, which is kind of wild if you think about it. And the reason why that is because that's always been a feature that's been available on high-end guitars such as Ernie Ball Music Man guitars, Sir guitars, and other like the Ibanez AC guitars that are a little bit more higher up in the price point. As of recently, over the last 2 to 3 years, I think more noticeably last year, some manufacturers have started to bring them in at more affordable price point. You see some entries like the Charvels, you got the Sterling guitars, you've got the Harley Benton, which I thought was the lowest priced guitar that you can get with a roasted maple neck at $400. But these guys have managed to somehow make one for only $220. So that in itself is pretty well. Let's go over some of the features and specifications of this instrument. So you have a basswood body, and you got a humbucker single coil configuration. You've got 1 volume, 1 tone pot, 5-way precision selector switch. You got your roasted maple neck, 24 frets, and they are medium jumbo. Aside from that, you have a bone type of nut. I'm not 100% sure if it's genuine bone, but it does feel like bone. Aside from that, you got some standard die-cast tuners, and your string trees right over there, and a traditional tremolo and your input jack on the back. So yeah, let's go over some clean tones and see what that sounds like. I'm gonna start with the neck pickup, and we'll go from there. right, so we went over some clean playing tones. Let's talk about what this guitar offers for the money, and answer some questions like who's the brand, is this genuine roasted maple? So yeah, so for the money, you're getting a neck on it that is, I would say at its most conservative pricing, at least $100 to $150 on its own. So that is where most of the worth is. Now, there are some positives, so we'll talk about the good, bad, and ugly as well. But some of the things that I like about it, aside from the neck, is also the pickup. So specifically the humbucker pickup. Normally in these really cheap guitars, you have to upgrade, all of the electronics, pickups, pots, all that stuff, at least for the pickups, and that's the only thing I can speak on right now. I would say that the humbucker isn't something that you need to immediately change, which is a really, really good thing. Aside from that, the nut is pretty well cut. It's either a bone or a bone nut kind of like material. So that's also a positive. And I think the finish is done very, very well. It's not the same color hue as the original Charvel is trying to mimic, but that's perfectly fine. It shouldn't be a carbon copy, and I think it looks well. I really try to inspect the guitar in just about every corner that I could, and I would only found some very minor finish flaws under the tremolo, which is understandable. Sometimes I don't even paint under that, and the back cavity as well. So overall, very impressed with the finish, very impressed with the neck. Now, let me answer your question. Is this a genuine roasted maple neck? Yes or no? And the answer is yes. I would say it is, although it's, very hard to say with 100% certainty, but I am 99.99% sure it is for a couple of reasons. Number one, when they paint these necks over to make it look like that, you will usually find discoloration. For example, like the headstock, if you remove the tuners, you'll see discoloration, or if you remove the neck, you can also sometimes see discoloration as well. And the paint pattern isn't always consistent. That is not the case here. It's very consistent with the exception of the headstock. So when I first saw it, I noticed the headstock was a little darker, and that kind of put me on alert. But after further inspection and removing the tuners just to see what it looked like under that, I'm feeling much more confident that this is a genuine real thing. And also feel. So this is the more important one. Roasted maple necks have a certain feel to them. They're very sturdy. I feel like they have a particular tone, and I get that from this guitar. So take that with a grain of salt, but that's what I believe it to be. Let's talk about some of the bad and the ugly stuff. So I did say the humbucker sounds really well. I don't think the other two pickups sound bad at all, although there is a volume drop. I won't call that a bad thing. What I'm not a big fan of is the tuners. So the tuning stability isn't fantastic. In fact, I'm pretty sure as I was playing, the guitar came slightly out of tune. The string trees are super cheap. That being said, this is a very affordable upgrade. And another thing I don't like at all, and I would say this is probably where the ugly stuff starts to happen, is the tremolo. So the tremolo bridge is very, very cheaply made. It's about the cheapest thing you can imagine. And I don't know if the camera's gonna be able to catch that or not, but you can see, I'm gonna call those water bubbles, but you can see some imperfections on it, and it just feels not very high quality. Also, the trem block on the back is very, very thin. So, that would be an interesting upgrade to make for sure. If I was to keep this and upgrade it, I would change that tremolo for a used Mexican Fender tremolo. If it fits it, I think that would be a good upgrade. It would only cost you $20 or $30 at most. And for the tuners, you could get some affordable locking tuning keys as well. And at least for me, that would be, it. Now, another question to ask, is it worth to buy something like this and think, like, is this your mentality? Like, hey, what if I get this and I just put all the hardware and components that the Charvel has? Is that worth it? Absolutely not. It is not worth it, just because those guitars are actually packing a lot of value in what you're getting from them. So for, about $1,000, you get genuine Seymour Duncan pickups, which in its own could be $200 or $300 for that full set. You get a much higher quality bridge than this. You get either genuine high quality aftermarket locking keys or Grover tuners. It depends on which model you're buying. A higher quality nut as well, and higher quality electronics. If you were to buy all that stuff and put it on this guitar, you're adding at least $400 to $550 of upgrades on it, not counting installation costs if you're not able to do it yourself. Then you're at about $800, and for a few dollars more you can get the real thing. Especially if you look for it in the used market, it might even be less than that. So that's absolutely not worth it. That being said, if you get this because you want to get into the sense of, well, what does that roasted maple neck feel like, and you don't want to spend a lot of money, or you just like those pastel colored guitars that are coming out but don't want to spend a lot of money, I think this is a really good mod platform where you can do some slight upgrades like the tuners and the tremolo bridge, and it's totally worth it. I should mention that it also comes with a few goodies on the box. So you have a cable with the adjustment tools. There are 2 Allen keys there. You have the trem bar. You also have an extra set of strings and a couple of picks. I think this is like a user manual. Yep, to set up your truss rod. And you have this gig bag, which is like those really cheap dust covered nylon bags. All right. So yeah, that's it for the video. I think this is a really good value for the money. Just keep in mind, it's not going to be perfect. Another thing I'm going to call out before I end the video is the setup on it wasn't fantastic, but it wasn't terrible either. The action is around 2.5 millimeters. That's a little higher like than traditional blues action. And about 1.5 millimeters higher than what super shredders like to have, or like they have their strings really close to the neck. But the frets are very level. That's something I'm impressed with. The fret ends are not sharp at all. That's also something that's impressive. I think there's a lot of value for the money here. It's certainly an interesting purchase. When I first bought it, it took about 27 days to ship in, which I was not ecstatic about. Well, once they did, it took like 5 days after that. You do want to keep in mind that this is also coming from a brand that is known for not only having a bunch of tellies and kind of like oddball instruments, but they also carry the Starshine brand, which does make some of the chips in. So, you know, take that also with a grain of salt. But yeah, I think it's a good value for the money. It's certainly a very interesting instrument. That's it for the video. I've been Raf. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you do, please like, comment, subscribe, do all that basic YouTube stuff, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Have a great rest of your day.